بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم. ولادت دو ستاره اختر تابناک امامت حضرت امام حسین علیه السلام و امام زین العابدین علیه السلام و حضرت ابوالفضل عباس را خدمت شما و تمام شیعیان جهان تبریک و تهنیت عرض می‌کنم. مجلس را آغاز می‌کنیم با آیات با تلاوت قرآن پاک از قاری محترم آقای سید نسیم هاشمی خواهش می‌کنم تا آیات چند از کلام الله مجید را تلاوت نماید تا آمدنشان بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات.
حسین شهدای کربلا میدندن صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ومن يقنط بالله ورسوله ومن يقنط منكن لله ورسوله وتعمل صالحا نؤتها وأعتدنا لها رزقا كريما. يا نساء النبي لستن كأحد من نساء إن اتقيتن فلا تخضعن بالقول فيطمع الذي في قلبه مرض وقلن قولا معروفا. في بيوتكن ولا تبرجن تبرج الجاهلية فقرن في بيوتكن ولا تبرجن تبرج الجاهلية وأقمنا الصلاة وأقمنا الصلاة وآتينا الزكاة الله أكبر سلامتی آقای امام زمان بلند سلام
تشکر از صوت ملکوتی حاجی هاشمی که قاریان مداها یک چیز دارن که جور دیار مایک خراب میکنن جور آقا سید نسیم ازدواج دن بینی خود درست کرد ما مجبور شدیم به پسش کردیم. دوستای عزیز الپی را مدعوت دادیم در خدمت شماست تا در باره ویزای نو و دیگر مسائل فامیلی و اینا برای شما معلومات بدم و آیت و منوی تاها از جمعی شما دوستا خواهش میکند که شخصا خود شخصا نکنید. نزاکت و ادب را باید رعایت کنیم و وقتی که میمان ما از اینجا بیرون میشه کس در مسیر را مزاحمت نکنه. بگذارندش که پشت کار خوب بدن در مسیر را کسی مزاحمت نکنه که استاد کنن و سوال شخصی کنن. هر کسی سوال داره در جای استاد شود اینجا دوستا هست اگر مشکل زبان چیز داشت بهش کمکش میکنن. In this part of my program, I invite Mr. Julian Hell, MP, to address the gathering. Now let's have the pleasure of listening to the opening remarks of the Honorable Julian Hell, MP.
محمد و آل محمد صلوات. محمد و آل محمد. نعره حیدری. نعره حیدری. صلوات بر علی و آل علی صلوات.
Thank you very much for the invitation, and it's terrific to be back here again. It's been a few months, I think just before the election last year. Can I acknowledge the Sheikh and members of the committee and leaders in the community and everyone who's here. What I've been asked to do is to share some information and updates about some of the visa announcements and changes in migration policy. If there's anything that people don't understand then, we'll do some translations and we can take some questions. Okay. So the first thing, as people would know, I'm really pleased to confirm that the government has kept our election promise and announced a pathway to a permanent visa for people who have a TPV or Chev visa. That's a really significant announcement for so many people in our community and 19,000 people right across Australia who've been here for nearly 10 years and have made a contribution to Australia, but under the Liberals were always denied a pathway to a permanent visa. So we've fixed that, and the first few visas have already been granted in the last week. People will be invited to apply, and I encourage people to not just fill out the form quickly and put it in. Make sure that you've seen Refugee Legal, that you've done a good quality application, because that means it can be approved more quickly. One of the big problems for the department is when people fill forms in quickly, don't put all the information, and then it just wastes a whole lot more time. So just make sure you take a little bit of time and get that right. Under Australian law, you need to pass 3 things for that visa. We've tried to make it as quick and simple as possible. You need, by law, to have a health check, a police check, and the security checks. But for most people, the health check will be waived. So we've tried to actually make it very simple. You'll just need to get the police check, fill out the other bits on the form if you have a current TPV or Chev visa, and they'll be processed. I would hope that most of those 19,000 will be done by the end of this year, but we can't be 100% sure because it depends on the other work coming in to the department and how good the applications are. The more problems there are, the slower it will be. But we should have, I think, by the end of this year, most of those visas granted. Some will go into next year. A few other questions that people have asked. Once people have the permanent visa, then they will be able to sponsor their wives and children, or husbands and children, because there are a few women as well. So when you have the permanent visa, you'll then be eligible for family reunion, like every other Australian who has a permanent visa. That I know is really important to people, particularly for people whose families have been in Pakistan for a very long time, and they now have not been able to visit them since Pakistan changed their policy on visiting. On the citizenship, this is something that we're still working through. Australian law says once you have a permanent visa, you need to have had 1 year of permanent residency and 4 years living here to apply for citizenship. And here for 4 years, that's not a problem. It's the 1 year of permanent residency. I've been talking to the Minister and explained to him that I think we should try and find a way to waive that 1 year of permanent residency, given people have been here for 10 years as genuine refugees, doing the right thing, and allow people to apply for citizenship quickly. That's not clear under the law. So what I'll be doing is looking for, so when anyone in the community, good examples of individuals. As soon as people here, maybe 2 or 3 people, have their permanent visa, if your families are in Pakistan, if your wife and children are in Pakistan and you get the permanent visa, then and you live in my electorate, please send me an email, because we'll be looking for 2 or 3 test cases for examples that I can write to the Minister and say, there is a provision in the law if it will cause undue hardship to have that extra year, then the Minister has the power to waive that year. It's very rarely done, but I think that for people from Afghanistan who otherwise cannot visit their family and see their children because of the rules on Pakistan, then that's a really good argument to put to the minister. So I'll try that, but we need 2 or 3 examples to be able to do that. So I think community leaders, you understand the point that I'm making? Yeah, when we've got 2 or 3 people, we'll give it a go. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. So it'll take a few months, but I want to try and enable that to happen quickly, so not everyone has to wait a year for citizenship when they get the permanent visa. Remember, that's only to apply. It still takes another year or 2 to get citizenship. The other question that we're getting a lot is travel authorisations. Once people have the authorisation, we have changed easier for people still on the TPVs. I've had a few community members, maybe one every week, who says, my travel authorisation has been too slow, I need to see my family, they're ill, and we can fix them now pretty reasonably. Yeah, so the minister changed the rules a couple of months ago to make it easier for people to travel. The reason that we still by law have to keep that there is because we have to have some control to remind people that they're not allowed to go to the country that they're claiming persecution, they're claiming protection from. Because if we don't tell people that and we find out they've gone to Afghanistan, and they're from Afghanistan, then their visa will be cancelled and they'll never be allowed back in. So that's one of the reasons for the travel approval. We have to, anytime anyone leaves, get them to sign that they understand that. That's just unbelievable. The next big question which people are asking are about bridging visas. So there's about 12,000 people in Australia, about that many, who have been here for a very long time, who are still on a bridging visa. Now, there's no single answer to that. There's not one simple answer, because under the law, every case has to be decided individually. So the minister doesn't have a magic stick and say, everyone on a bridging visa gets a visa. There's just no way to do that. So there's kind of 2 types of people, refugees or asylum seekers, still on bridging visas. There's a small number who have never had a decision from the department. That's appalling. That is a disgrace. The Liberals left that mess, and we have employed more staff in the department to start to finish those cases. So that's the first type of people. You should, over the next few months or year, get a decision, and that should solve the problem. Okay, that's the first case. There's then a few thousand people who were rejected by the previous government, and so they're on a bridging visa because they got rejected. I just spoke to someone. You need to do, if you're from Afghanistan, Iran, Myanmar, countries where there's been a big change in the security circumstance since that decision was made. Australia realistically is not going to be deporting people to Afghanistan. So we know that this is a problem that needs to be fixed, but it has to be fixed one by one, case by case. So there's 2 legal options, but you need to talk to your lawyer. If you're at the court in an appeal, you could apply for ministerial intervention. So that's one option. You could say to the minister, there's been a change in circumstances in my home country since my case was rejected. I would like you, Minister, to intervene and change the decision because of the change. So that will work for some people. For other people who can't do ministerial intervention, the lawyer will be able to tell you, you would need to apply to the minister to lift the Section 48 bar so you can apply again for a TPV. So normally, if you've been rejected for a TPV, you're not allowed to apply again. But the minister has a power under Section 48 of the Act, of the law, to grant you permission to apply again. And then you get a different assessment because the circumstances in your home country have changed. So there's two routes. You need to talk to your lawyer and refugee legal, or your lawyer, about which one is best for you. The Minister has many thousands of requests there already that people have been making last year. He said, and I've told people for the last few months, we're not looking at that until we fix the TPV Chev problem. That was number one. So we're now fixing that. So in the coming months, it's not going to be next week, because the Minister has to make these decisions one by one. It's going to take him hours every week. But in the coming months, he will start to then be able to look at ministerial intervention or letting people apply again. They're the two different routes. So I'll just finish that by saying, for people on the bridging visas who've been here for 9, 10, 11 years, we know that the problem needs to be fixed. There's no power for the government or the Minister just to fix it like that. That's not how the law works. Even the Minister can't do that. He has to make decisions one by one, and there's those two ways that he has the power. They're the only two ways that the Minister has the power to fix these problems. Ministerial intervention or lifting the Section 48 bar. So your lawyer can tell you how to do that, and later in the year he'll start to work through those cases, but it simply cannot be done today or tomorrow or next week. There's just too many. That's the mess which the Liberals left us. So it's just going to take us a couple of years to clean all that up. There's no other way. The other questions we get are about citizenship delays, partner visa delays, and humanitarian cases. So I'll just talk very quickly about them. When the Liberals were defeated in May, when Labor became the government, there were more than 1 million visa and citizenship applications in the department. 1 million. Just the biggest mess you could imagine. They got rid of 1,000 staff over their 10 years, so there were 1,000 less staff processing visas, and so the pile just grew and grew. The Labor government has now employed 485 new staff, that we funded 500, so they've got 15 more to find, so they've done that very quickly, and they're starting to work through those backlogs. But many of the long cases for citizenship and partner visa from Afghanistan are the most complex cases, because we know, and it's often not people's fault, but there's a higher rate of fraud in the documents. Sometimes documents are fake. You don't even know it, but the Taliban or the policeman might have given you a fake document. The department has to spend a lot more time checking those cases, so they just take time. We've put more staff into a special team in Melbourne. It's actually based in Melbourne now, to work through those cases for citizenship and partner visas that have been waiting more than 5 years. So I'll give you a sense of the numbers. There were 3,200 cases when we took government that had been waiting more than 5 years. 3,200.